First principles thinking. That's what we're going to talk about today. You're like, oh, I've heard about this. This is from like engineers, and Elon Musk, talks about this all the time. I think it's a cool practice. And as a self-aware leader, this is something that we want to look at, because first principles thinking, and we're going to get into this. This may sound like cheesy, cliche buzzword, but I want to talk about this first principles thinking as a leader and how it's going to unlock innovation and growth in your organization. So we're going to get real practical on it. First, what is first principles thinking? It's a powerful mental model that involves breaking down complex problems into their most fundamental elements and building up solutions from scratch. By embracing this approach, we can drive innovation, foster creative problem solving, and lead our team to new heights of success. This works really great in team meetings. So I want you to visualize yourself with your team. Maybe you're a small business owner and you have 2 employees. So that's your team. Maybe you have 200 employees. Well, let's not get all 200 together. You have them breaking down with team leaders and teams. Let's hope you have done that. So we're going to get the team leaders together and we're going to do some first principles thinking. So let's look at the benefits of this and how that can apply to your teams, how it's going to apply to you as a leader, and then kind of give you some practical examples on it. So let's look at how it fosters innovation. First principles thinking allows leaders to challenge existing assumptions and paradigms, enable them to develop groundbreaking solutions and drive innovation within their organizations. So how do we foster innovation? Well, you're going to throw out all assumptions and paradigms. So you're going to come before a team and you're going to be like, we're having a problem solving this issue. And so in this issue, I want us to do first principles thinking. So now we're going to write a list. This is where love whiteboards, every team meeting, and I want everybody to talk. Every single person, extroverts, introverts, everybody. Somebody's not talking, I'm going to call on them and ask them. So I'm going to say, let's write the problem on the board. Problem, no. Okay, first principles thinking, here we go. What existing assumptions do we have about this? Why do we think this problem is so big? Why are we having such a hard time with this? What assumptions do we have? You're going to write those down. The team, and you're going to encourage the team, and you're not going to talk, they're going to talk. And you're not going to talk to each point. You need to get them flowing. If you interrupt the flow by talking about each one, a lot of times I see leaders defend assumptions. Who cares? This is first principles thinking. This is just an exercise. Do not defend what people are saying, because then they're going to shut up. You've got to let them communicate freely. Even if an assumption sounds absurd, get it on the board. Because sometimes those absurd assumptions are coming back from like a back end way that you can kind of figure it out a little bit more. A hack real quick, whenever you do this, I always take a picture of the whiteboard after I'm done. I love going back and looking at the whiteboard because I can use that information that's on the whiteboard to do coaching, especially if we're coming up to this problem. Because I'm going to bring it up again. A week later, guy's coming to me and he's like, hey, bro, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I'm going to say, that was one of our assumptions. Because I've looked at it multiple times, picture, that was one of our assumptions. And we came up with a solution on that assumption by this, or this. I don't want us focusing on this assumption anymore. So, Jim, here's what I want to do. Let's get rid of that assumption. We talked about that already, and let's focus on that solving that we had talked about and those steps, getting specific and clear on that. Bring that to me, and let's have a conversation on that. See how that works? So I have a row of assumptions. I'm challenging existing assumptions and then existing paradigms. What are these thought processes that we're so ingrained in? I don't care what it is. Maybe it's totally changing how sales and marketing work together. What's the paradigm that's causing the problem? Because what's going to happen is you're going to come up with groundbreaking solutions. You're going to come up with such creativity that you're going to be like, what the hell? Why didn't we ever think about this? Why have we been doing this for 30 plus years? So that's foster innovation. Next is it's going to enhance problem solving. When you break problems down to their core components, this is first principles thinking, It encourages creative problem solving and goes beyond conventional wisdom and your so-called best practices. When you have to break the problem down. So what are the core components of this problem? I'll write it on the whiteboard. Here we go. So we have the assumptions, we have the paradigms. Now let's break it down. And you're going to ask people. We're having first principles thinking here. We're going to try to do problem solving. We're not going to take conventional wisdom and our best practices. We're going to be super creative. That's what you're telling your team. And we're going to break the problem down to its core. What are the core components of the problem? Okay, problem is sales and marketing not working together. Problem is budget. Problem is, okay, well, those are usually masks and excuses to play the victim. So let's break this down. So we have a problem with budget. Why do we have a problem with budget? Well, they want this accomplished, and we can't do that without this amount of money. Okay, well, let's break the problem down anymore. Well, how can we accomplish this with the budget that we have? Is there things that we need to eliminate? Is there things that we need to relook at? What are we prioritizing? And I want to help you by looking at this. Look at the letter that Mark Zuckerberg, he's calling it the year of efficiency. And he wrote a letter. He did some firing, and then they're trying to be more efficient at Facebook because they just got so bloated and so big when free money was available and everywhere. So he wrote this, and it's like March, I think it was like March 15th or something. Don't quote me on that. I need to look it up. But he wrote this. It was just a few weeks ago. And if you read this, you're going to see exactly how he broke down the problems because he's an engineer. So he did first principles thinking on this. Like we want new components. They're not a priority, but we bring a team on because it would be something that we'd like to do. Well, now we just hired 200 people. Now we need more HR people. Now on those HR people, we need more this, and then it's this cascade effect. So he broke it down to the core components. Well, we really don't need to accomplish this. We really need to focus on this, and this. By eliminating all the other, by focusing on the 20%, 80-20 rule, eliminating all the other 80%, now we can come to a creative problem. Okay, so we have budget issues. What do we have budget issues on? Why do we have budget issues? Let everyone talk. They're going to help you solve the problem, and it's going to be amazing and creative, and they're going to be able to, now you're coaching them by having this meeting, you're coaching them and enhancing them to problem solve on their own. They're learning this from you. Next is cultivate agility. Adopting a first principles mindset helps leaders and your team stay nimble and adaptive when things begin to change. Adaptation, I love that word. That's evolution, adapting. Things change, circumstances get hard. Evolution, that species evolves, doesn't it? It evolving to the marketing conditions. Whatever the market is, if you're a for-profit company, whatever that market is, you're going to evolve to those conditions. You're not going to stay in your ways. You're going to evolve, constantly evolving. So this cultivates agility. Next is it encourages continuous learning. First principle thinking emphasizes questioning and learning. So that fosters a culture of continuously improving and growth. Because they're going to use these first principles thinking, they're going to use that on themselves in their personal life and with their family. Those that they love the most, they're going to have a problem in their life and they'll be like, I solved this at work pretty easily. I'm going to do this right now. I'm going to write down, okay, okay, well, I can solve that. That's pretty creative. I think I can do this. Now you're making them a leader, aren't you? And they're being able to lead those that they love. How badass is that? So how do you apply first principles thinking as a leader? First, you have to question assumptions. Start by challenging the assumptions and beliefs that underpin your current understanding of a problem or situation. Ask yourself, why do we do things this way? And what assumptions are we making? Write this on the board. Why do we do things this way? Why do we do this way? Why are we always having issues with the budget? Why are we always fighting with the CFO? Why? And what assumptions are we making about the CFO and about the budget? Then break problems down. Next, question assumptions. Number 2, break problems down. Decompose complex problems into their most basic elements, stripping away any extraneous information or preconceived notions. Okay, so we've identified we're always butting heads with the CFO. So we need to work on the relationship with the CFO. Number one, we need to work. That's relationship. That's people to people. We stripped everything away. Our relationship with the CFO could be better. How can we tackle that? Let's strip everything away. How are we going to have a better relationship with the CFO? Well, one, we need to schedule time and meetings with them to gain clarity, and we need to coach him, coach up, coach down. We need to ask him, what do you feel is important in our department? Don't get ego here. Total humility. What do you feel as a CFO? Where do you feel like we waste money at in our department? Where do you feel like we're being really effective in our department? All he's doing is giving you a different mindset that you may not see. He's giving you a sliver of an expert on numbers that you may not be seeing. What he says may not be true because he's only seeing it from a numbers perspective, but I guarantee you can take that information, bring it back to your team, say, hey, had a great conversation with CFO. I asked him, why we're doing it this way. What are some of the things that we can improve? What assumptions are we making in our department? I asked him those things, and he shared with me this, and this. Because you're gonna be like, hey, CFO, Susan, I'm writing these things down because we're gonna really, really work on these. And I want to be able to come to you in a month's time. I want to set another meeting up with you in a month and share with you some of the things that we're going to work on to get this problem fixed. Because you're going to get some insight. And the team is too. The team's going to be like, oh, the CFO said this. Oh, okay. Oh, so she's really concerned. He's really concerned about this. Oh, well, you know what we could do that would help with that? See, I love collaboration. So badass. Next is break problems down. Decompose complex problems into the most basic elements, stripping away any extraneous information or preconceived notions. Ask this. I love this. What preconceived notions do we have on this? Identify the fundamental principles. Determine the core principles or building blocks that underpin the problem at hand. Okay? The problem at hand is our relationship, really, to be honest with you, is our relationship with the CFO. That's what I feel like our that's the core problem. These principles should be objective, universal truths that are not influenced by context or personal bias. Next is build solutions from scratch. Use the fundamental principles identified in step 3 as a starting point. And I'm going to have these in the show notes. So I encourage you, my show notes, I always put everything that I'm talking about in the podcast. I put it in the show notes so you can go back and reference that. Use the fundamental principles identified in step 3 as a starting point to build up new innovative solutions. This process may involve brainstorming, experimentation, iteration. And then next, you're going to foster a first principles culture. Encourage your team to embrace this thinking. Promote open dialogue. Praise them when they question assumptions. Celebrate creative problem solving. Somebody's going to come to you, a team leader will say, hey, our team worked on this. We questioned this assumption, and we came up with this creative way that we can solve this. You're going to be, hell yeah. So I'm going to give you an example with Elon Musk and SpaceX. Whether you like him or not, who cares? I know he's a polarizing figure politically and all that, and then buying Twitter. I don't care. I want you to hear how Elon Musk used first principles thinking to revolutionize the space industry. He questioned the assumption behind rocket production costs. So Musk and his team at SpaceX were able to design and manufacture reusable rockets, significantly reducing the cost of space travel. Another one is Airbnb. The founders of Airbnb applied first principles thinking to challenge the traditional hotel industry. They questioned the assumption around accommodations and recognized the fundamental need for shelter and connection. So they developed a platform, a technology platform that disrupted the entire hospitality sector. And many of you have stayed in Airbnbs. I just was in Barcelona. I stayed in an Airbnb. Last year I went to Rome. I stayed in an Airbnb. First principles thinking, guys. Next, give me my last one, Netflix. Netflix applied first principles thinking to redefine the way people consume entertainment by questioning the assumptions around content distribution and recognize the potential of the internet. They didn't have it then. Remember when Netflix first, we all know what Netflix was. They're like, we have the potential of the internet and we can distribute content. First principles thinking. And Netflix transformed from a DVD rental service to a global streaming giant You just watched something on Netflix this last week. I guarantee you did. We all do, don't we? So I encourage you, embrace first principles thinking as a leader. You're going to unlock innovation. You're going to drive growth, question assumptions, break down problems to their core components, build solutions from scratch, foster a culture of creative problem solving and continuous learning. And you're going to see, as the world's most successful companies, first principles thinking is one of your most powerful tools for coaching. And it can revolutionize not just your organization, but your industry.
Thank you for joining us on the Albuquerque Business Podcast. And thanks to our sponsor, RigbyDigital.com. Make sure to subscribe and share. And go to abqpodcast.com. Get show notes, resources, and links to everything we talked about today to help you navigate your journey as an entrepreneur and business owner.